Yes, hello, may I speak with Evan, please?
Speaking.
Hey, Evan, how's it going? This is Angel Rodriguez.
Oh, hey, how are you? How are you?
Good, good. Yourself?
Been hectic lately. Hectic, but I'm okay.
The
Okay.
city of New York, Boricua from the Bronx.
Looked up some of the Wikipedias, some articles and stuff. I see you're heavily involved with the wrestling side.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've been involved with wrestling for the longest time, and originally as a fan, later as a fanzine editor. Wrestling, we call it sheet. Writing about the business, published Wrestling Then and Now, which
That's the newsletter. Is that right?
yeah, it's a newsletter, and at one point I was very heavily involved with it. Now it just comes out sporadically. But from doing that, I ended up as an agent, and I booked various legends, for autograph signing. This past weekend, I just had Lanny Poffo signed for a autograph appearance. Lanny the Genius Poffo, Macho Man Randy Savage's brother. I don't know how big a wrestling fan you are, but
I watched wrestling until I learned it was scripted. Me and my dad used to watch it all the time. Like it was like our weekend thing to watch all the wrestling and stuff. There's nothing fake about what these guys do. You know what I mean? There may be some sort of plot or something already predetermined. It's going to be Hulk Hogan who wins or whatnot. But there is nothing fake about flying through the air.
Yeah, gravity is fake. They end up with bad back, bad hips. And they hate the word fake. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's like a magician. It's an art. It's like a movie. If you watch a fight, if it looks real, you did a good job. If it doesn't, you've done a poor job.
Yeah. Plus, I mean, there's the acrobatics. Everything that they're doing is real. Even when you get thrown around in judo throws and things like that, those falls hurt. So I can imagine, some of these guys are huge and they're doing these backflips off like the top rope.
Yeah. It's a tough business. A lot of divorces, a lot of broken, relationships. Very hard.
I was surprised to learn as I got older how many of these guys passed away. It was very surprising. They're, these big monsters of men and stuff. So.
Well, that was part of the problem. They started pushing the big steroid physiques and killed a lot of these guys. And a friend of mine in the business, Tiger Khan, one of my best friends, he died 7 years ago. He worked for the Heart in Calgary. And, when people die, it's not fake. They portrayed them. They're portrayed as cartoonish many times on TV, but when they die, the family have to deal with it. Friends, it's a rough business, very rough business. And I was associate producer on The Wrestler for Darren Aronofsky, and I think we captured that.
Now, so you were involved with this film. Like, what do you do as a associate producer? Like,
I was basically the wrestling person, if you will. I brought in 150 wrestlers for casting calls. I brought in the Necro Butcher, who was Mickey Rourke's main opponent, one of the main opponents in the film. I basically was the wrestling guy. I brought Darren Aronofsky and the producer and the screenwriter to various indie promoters knew me. They didn't know them, and it was a very rewarding experience. The film, Mickey Rourke's performance is as good a performance as you're ever going to see in a film. You don't really have to be a wrestling fan to appreciate how good he is and how good, the movie Darren made.
Yeah, the story looks very, very good. The whole concept of it looks like.
Well, it's like Rocky. You don't have
Yeah,
to be a boxing.
exactly.
You have to be a boxing fan to like Rocky. I mean, it's a great film, and I'm actually in the film. In a speaking part, playing myself, ironically, and it's nice feeling to know that 100 years from now, people will be watching this film. So it means a lot.
That's pretty cool. Being immortalized, sorts.
Well, I'm acting with a Golden Globe nominee and a Golden Globe winner and an Academy Award nominee. Which is really something considering it was the first time I had ever acted. I mean, I've been in various documentaries and such, but that was the first time I was actually acting. It was a great experience. In fact, what had happened was I was just on the set one day while we were filming, and Darren was a world-class filmmaker. He suddenly gets this smirk, and he looks at me, and he goes, "Evan, come here." And I'm like, "Okay." And next thing I know, they're miking me, and he goes, "It's an autograph sequence." You didn't see it, so it's a little hard to explain, but it's a really depressing scene. They do an autograph signing. There's like nobody there. And he goes, work the room, go up to Mickey last, ask him for an autograph and a Polaroid picture. And, that basically Mickey whispers in my ear, just improv it. I'm like, okay. He thinks I'm an actor. So, I walk the room, I go up to Mickey last, and I start doing this spiel. I loved you as a kid. I saw you at the garden. You were my favorite. Can I have your autograph? And suddenly he goes, what's your name? And I'm thinking for a second, there's no script. This was totally unscripted. And I go, Evan. So he goes, how do you spell it? And I go, EVAN. So, and he repeats EVAN, and then we do we take a picture together, and I'm playing myself in a fictional movie. It's surreal. It's absolutely surreal. You have to see this.
That's the picture on your Facebook.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the picture on my Facebook. Yeah. So that 30 seconds of screen time or whatever it is my little piece of immortality, if you will. So yeah.
That's pretty cool. That sounds like fun.
It was fun. Yeah, it was fun.
You kind of get pulled into it, and you just go with it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, some people would have froze like a deer in the headlights. So I was proud I rose to the occasion. There's a mob of people watching you and giant cameras in your face, and you're not an actor, and you're acting with a great actor, with no script, no less. And it was a challenge. It was a challenge. But next thing I know, Aronofsky's running over to me, pounding me in the chest, going, "That was great. That was great." The guy's a world-class director. So next thing I know, it's they've edited the film, and I'm sitting at the New York Film Festival at Lincoln Center. There's 2,300 people sold out, and we're screening The Wrestler. And I don't know if my little thing is in it or not. It's months later. I'm not editing the movie, obviously. So we're at the film festival, and there I am on the big screen, and my girlfriend at the time, who's now my wife, she looks at me and she goes, "That's you." You know, and I'm like, "Yeah, that's me." You know, it was wild. It was wild. So, 2,300 people at the New York Film Festival and Lincoln Center. So, yeah, you know, sometimes your life just takes very strange twists and turns, and that was one of the great experiences of my life, making that movie.
You also have your own show. I watched. You had sent me a link some days ago, and I watched. I like that Spanish singer Edwin Vasquez.
Yeah, Edwin Vasquez is awesome. Edwin Vasquez played on the Caveman CD with Paul Simon and Mark Anthony, and he's great. He calls it gypsy soul. You know, it's Latin jazz, it's R&B, it's jazz, it's a mixture of everything, and he sings in English, he sings in Spanish, it doesn't matter. You know, the guy's just great. The guy can sing the phone book, you know?
Yeah, it's really good. It's very soothing, you know, and I like the Spanish stuff too because I can understand it as well. I can understand his English and his Spanish.
Yeah. Edwin is a working musician. Edwin makes a living as a musician. You know, he's not like, you know, he's not a 9 to 5 doing it part time. He's a musician, you know, and he's just world class and just a great person, also very spiritual, and you know, he sings from the heart. He sings from the heart, and you know, so we just started the TV show, Ginzburg Legend TV, and it's almost like a cross between the Tonight Show with Johnny Carson and the Ed Sullivan Show, because
you guys had some variety on.
Yeah. It's not a talk show. But we do have talk. And it's not a variety show, but we do have variety. It's like a combination of the two. And where basically anything can happen at any given moment. And I kind of proved that when we had on the couch at the same time a poet, a ballerina, and a woman wrestler, champion, female bodybuilder, you know, which is a very odd combination.
She said she won the Olympia? Is that what
I believe so. I mean, you better quote her rather than me, but yeah, she was on all the covers, and she was top 10 in the world, Melissa Coates. She's the real deal.
Yeah. I thought I heard her. I believe I recall her saying she took the Olympia, which is a pretty big deal. That's what
Yeah, if she said it, it's true. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm sure if you go to her website or
right. I would definitely.
You know, it would have all of that. Yeah, she was on all the covers as you saw, and you know, top 10 in the world, and you know, and then she became a female wrestler, and she's been pretty successful with that. But you know, she's very colorful, and she's a good friend of mine. And my idea with the show is that anything done well is an art. Like pro wrestling is the proletarian performance art. Pro wrestling is like, you know, theater for the people. You know, it's like somebody might not be into going to see Shakespeare, but they'll watch, you know, good versus evil in a wrestling ring. And to me, you know, what I'll be doing with Edwin as the house band is mixing him with poets and rappers, and writers, and anything in between. And that's why we have a house band as opposed to just miscellaneous musicians all the time. But we will have other musicians also. But you know, and I've been doing Legends Radio for 7 years now, which is pretty much the same concept. I mean, you know, last week we rebroadcast an interview we did with Ray Manzarek of the Doors because he just passed. And we've had some of the biggest names in show business, actors, you know, wrestlers, musicians, you know, interesting, and an adult should have diverse interests as opposed to, I only like rock and roll. I only like baseball. That's not what we do.
Right.
So
yeah, it's important to have a variety. Like I listen musically. I listen to everything. I watch everything. Like I'll listen to Chinese music and then listen to gangster rap. Like I can go through everything, and it comes across in my own music where I've done some songs that are very explicit, like very I grew up in the South Bronx, and I saw a lot of things growing up. A lot of drugs, a lot of gangs.
I grew up in East Flatbush, Brooklyn, and it was a rough neighborhood, and I wrote an entire book about it. I know. Believe me, I know. The book called Apartment 4B, like in Brooklyn, and 50
I saw that.
Yeah, 50 or so short stories about growing up in a very tough neighborhood in the 60s. I mean, that was back when there were gangs and riots, and it was rough back then.
And back in that time, like that's kind of considered Williamsburg today, right?
No. East Flatbush is
Brown,
right by Downstate Medical Center where I grew up. Not far from Flatbush Avenue, where they used to have a ton of movie theaters. They don't have it. Close walking distance to Erasmus High School.
Now this like back in that time frame, what were the problems? Because I know,
Well, the problems were in society in general. It was the civil rights era, and there was a lot of racial tension in the air, and there was a lot of political tension, and the neighborhood itself. The issue was what you would call blockbusting. I don't know if you're familiar with blockbusting, but what would happen would be there'd be like a white homeowner, and the real estate sharks would knock on his door and say, listen, by the way, the neighbor's changing. The neighbor's changing. You better get rid of your house quick, because it's not going to be worth anything. And then they would rip off the white guy, and then they would sell it, to the African American family and rip him off too, because they tell the African American family you're moving into a white neighborhood. So this expedited the process, and they were just playing on racial tensions and racism, which was totally illegal also. And and ultimately there was a murder on the next block, one block away, and the rumor that spread through, and it's all in the book, and I'm telling it from a kid's point of view. I was a little kid at the time. The rumor was that, black guy killed his girlfriend. So, the white people are fleeing in droves to Long Island. So then, of course, they find out a white guy did it, But, so it was like a whole set of circumstances that just led to a lot of racial tensions. And as a kid, you're in the middle of it all. And the good, the bad, and ugly of it. So basically, in 10 words or less, in movies they call it high concept. Can you explain something? Can you explain the movie in 10 words or less? It's the only white kid on the block. Basically, that's the book. So yeah. So and like I said, the good, the bad, and the ugly of it.
That sounds interesting.
Yeah, it was interesting, and why was it interesting? Because you learn about people. And some people couldn't be more supportive, loving, looking out for you, and other people were bullies and abusive and racist. You saw both ends of it from both sides.
The crazy thing is, like, if you really think about it, some people could say that not much has changed. You know what I mean?
Well, yes and no. I mean, my wife is, I'm white Jewish. My wife's Christian and Korean. And, even in my scenario, I heard from people, look out, it could be a green card scam. Back when I met her.
One of my friends said that jokingly to me and my wife. She's too beautiful for you. It must have been something.
No, they told me directly. They're like, you better get a prenup. This could be a green card scam, and I said that's ridiculous. So we're married over 3 years now, and everything's good. It's sometimes opposites attract. You don't have to. And it's not really opposites. I mean, you would think so, but she's a piano teacher. She loves music. I love music. You do have things in common. Some things are universal. But there's somebody. I was just talking to somebody today. My friend's a white guy, and his wife's black, and we were talking about the TV commercial
Cheerios,
where they have the interracial couple, and all kinds of idiots have been sending hate mail about it, and we're like, we can't believe this. It's fucked up.
Yeah, it is pretty messed up. Initially, I watched the commercial because I didn't know what the controversy was, and I watched the commercial. I want to say
there's no controversy. It's racist assholes reacting badly to something that's innocuous. It was innocuous. It was a nice family, and
there was nothing bad in it at all. There was nothing. I watched the commercial and I said, "But where's the bad thing?" And I watched it a second time.
The bad thing is in the people that react badly to it.
Yeah.
And look, I'll tell you something. Believe me, you get some religious Jews, and I'm Jewish, and they would hate me for marrying outside my religion. Really, it's what can I tell you? It's let people live their own life. I don't care if you're gay and married. I don't care what anybody else does in the bedroom. It's like
Yeah, I agree.
Look, to each his own, right?
Yeah, that's it.
You don't have to be totally anything. Dick Gregory, the famous comedian, says he reads 8 newspapers a day. He wants to see everybody's opinion. So, because the truth is somewhere in the middle, and you formulate your own opinion. I mean, I'm a New York City Jewish liberal, but sometimes they go, yeah, it is insane how much debt we go into, and it is insane, how much money is spent on war and military, and I mean, why is it the only way to solve problems is to blow people up? I mean, we have war after war. The 20th century was the most violent century in the history of mankind, and if we look back at 1013, we go, well, those people were primitive. They didn't have indoor plumbing. They went to the bathroom outdoors, whatever. And they didn't have phones, cars, anything, computers. And I'm telling you for a fact, 1,000 years from now, they'll look back at us and go, those people were crazy. They were savages. All they did was kill each other. All they did was have war after war after war.
What, for oil, right? They'll be like, for oil. Who the hell uses oil anymore?
Yeah, who uses oil anymore? What were they, nuts? They'll laugh at us like we were primitive, like we were cavemen. I'm telling you. And we think we're so hot because we have a $400 phone in our pocket. It's ridiculous. Ridiculous. So that's my speech for the evening.
When I interviewed Alicia and Chris for their own blog, actually, they were my first interview. They mentioned that you mentored, you mentored them. Alicia specifically kept on mentioning that you were very, like a mentor to her in this whole talk show industry and stuff.
Well, that's nice. But look, it's kind of like that path it forward. My radio mentor was a guy named Fred Giabold, who over at WBAI, 50,000 watt, 99.5 FM in New York, part of the Pacifica Network. He happened to be an old school wrestling fan, and he grew up in the Midwest under, Vern Gagne and the Bruiser and the Crusher and all of that. And he invited me on his show, like once a month for a little segment, talk about wrestling. And we got very friendly. And I'm like, Fred, I'd like to do more. I love doing radio. I'd like to bring up bands. I'd like to bring up writers. I'd like to bring up comedians. And he's like, yeah, absolutely. So, we'd be up there 3 a.m. The old studio was at 35th Street, off of like 8th Avenue, and there'd be homeless guys outside. They'd be drunk, passed out, whatever. It never bothered us. You walk past the homeless guys at 3 a.m. You'd be on the subway. There'd be like one other guy on the subway with you because it's 3 a.m. going into Manhattan instead of coming home from Manhattan. And you're looking at the other guy saying, I hope this guy doesn't kill me. He's looking at me going, I hope this guy doesn't kill me. So get off the train. There's the homeless guys. Walk past them. Go up this ancient elevator into the studio, and it was like the Fellini movie. I mean, you go up there, and you got, I'd have wrestlers, musicians, comedians, writers, all in one room, 3 a.m. It just kind of felt like this, strange dream. But, it was real, and it was, those were some of the best nights of my life up there with Fred. And what Fred taught me about radio is very simple. He said it's a blank canvas. It doesn't matter if it's a half hour, 1 hour, 2 hours, whatever you slot it, it's a blank canvas. You decide what you want to do with it. It's like a painter starts out with, a blank, piece of, there's nothing on it. So what are you going to do with it? And then he said the other trick is you let the other person talk. It's not about you as the host. It's about the guest. It's not shock jock radio. It's interviewing a human being, and really listening and letting them respond. And he actually said to me, they do over 80% of the talking. They do over 80% of the talking. And if that's not what's happening, then it's either your fault or, they're not a good guest and they can't talk, which happens sometimes. Somebody could be the best athlete or musician or actor in the world. It doesn't mean, they're a great interview, but that's the goal, and that's what makes good radio. And Chris and Alicia, I mean, they're naturals at it anyway, but, it's just some little things like that. And, I also explained to them, whatever you do, it's a choice. Because we'll have, my show's 2 hours, 20 minutes. We're on every Wednesday, 7 to 9:20, at legendsradio.net. And we'll do 2 hours, 20 minutes, and we'll usually have 4 or 5 guests. I mean, you could have 1 or 2 guests and go much longer. You could have 10 guests and do it shorter. It's what you're comfortable with. But I do about 20 minutes per guest, and it seems to work. 20, 25 minutes each. That's basically what we do. And we play a lot of music from the indie artists. We call it Legends Radio, and a lot of people, we do have a legend, but we also want to support indie artists. So, we'll tell them, send us, 2 to 4 MP3s or whatever, and, we'll play their music also. So, not just talk. We have a worldwide net audience, and, we'll be heard in dozens of different countries, and it's still more prestigious to be on a, famous FM station. I mean, I did that for 16 years, but I like the freedom of this. I like, if one day, you feel like I need a vacation, you don't do the show, or the engineer, needs a week or 2 off. It's like it's not life and death. Basically, I'll do, I would say, 48, 49 weeks a year, but, you have a little more flexibility, and of course, since or FM radio, you don't have the FCC. If somebody curses, it's not the end of the world. And that's another thing that I said to Chris and Alicia. I said, it's very, very, very rare that I curse on the radio, not because I'm offended by it, but because it cheapens it. And I said, 1 or 2 times or 3 times in the course of a year that I will curse, the listeners are like, holy shit, Evan is really mad, or Evan is really passionate about this. It means something. It means something. It's like you were talking about rap music, which is a perfect example. I happen to love quality hip hop. Not pseudo gangsters living in the suburbs, playing a role. It's rap music. When you curse 42 times in one song, it loses its effect. It doesn't mean anything after a while. And I have these great indie rappers on the show: Cooley High, So Soon, Ms. T, Boom It, Prem Rock, Chad Kangas, he's a writer also. And I love a guy named AIG, these guys have something to say. They have something to say, and it doesn't have to be, cursing. Some of them do, some of them don't, but it's more than that, and it's, language is what you choose to do with it, really, and, I choose not to. I choose not to generally, and once in a while, like I said, when I do it, it just has like a megaton effect,
I have, out of my entire catalog, 2 songs where I curse, and they were purposely done as a mockery to current rap music.
And again, I have no problem with cursing if it's in the right context. I mean, I grew up on Richard Pryor, Lenny Bruce, George Carlin, Sam Kinison. I have no problem with my cursing if it makes sense. But if it's done just for the sake of doing it, it doesn't mean anything.
Yeah. Most of my stuff personally is clean. I don't feel comfortable, really cursing when I'm performing. So I did those as a goof, and I might perform just for entertainment value, just to kind of shock people because of the way I usually write. They'll be like, "Whoa, that's not like Angel." But I actually removed them from my website because young people go, and I didn't want to run across that stuff. So
hey, look, kids hear it. Kids know it. But one thing, any performer, whether you're a rapper, spoken word, anybody, you have to know your audience. And I recently, I'll tell you a funny story. I recently was a judge for a singer-songwriter contest for a record label called RAD, Recording Artist Development, and it was at this big bar with this very elegant jazz club in the village. Just a nice ambiance, and an older crowd, like a more mature crowd, and this rapper comes on, and basically he's cursing for the sake of cursing. And it just wasn't the crowd for it. And we all said the thing, none of us were offended. It's like, I could care less if the guy says fuck 27 times. It doesn't offend me, but it was just the wrong crowd for it, It wasn't a young hip-hop crowd. And, it's you have to know your audience no matter what you're doing.
That's key.
Like I just did the TV show, and I had a poet friend of mine on, and I know that the average person, doesn't have the attention span to listen to a lot of poetry on a TV show. So I said, do 1 or 2 poems that are short and powerful, because you have to know the audience. And they're not going to listen to a 20-minute set on a TV show. That's my point.
Yeah, I agree. Even as a spoken word artist, I find it very difficult to sit for a very long time listening. It takes a lot out of you. It became very tiresome, and that's when I decided I wanted to shift to music.
Well, it's like anything else. I mean, you're sitting somewhere for 3 hours, and 2 hours and 40 minutes of it, okay or awful, and 20 minutes of it is great. So, it wears you out. Absolutely. Believe me, I've seen it all.
I'd love to write myself, and I was a little nervous because like we've never spoken before, so
you're doing the person the favor. I mean, whoever you're interviewing, you're providing publicity, and you're by interviewing them, you're telling them that they're worth being interviewed. So, there's nothing to be uncomfortable about. People should appreciate it. I mean, if they don't, they're assholes. it's like, right?
That's a good way to put it. But it's
I mean, you could be doing anything else for the past hour, so it's flattering that you would take the time to do it. So, that's the way I see it. I mean, I've done tons of interviews over the years. I just produced a film, full-length documentary called Teresa Sario Alive Again. I must have done 40 interviews, and when the wrestler came out, I can't even begin to tell you how many interviews I did, and et cetera, so on, and just from being in the wrestling world, and it's 9 out of 10 times it's flattering, and every once in a while, they don't have their shit together. But most of the time, it's very flattering.
Yeah, but it's fun, and it's like you said earlier on. You generally want to let the person you're interviewing do the talking. So that kind of
that's the whole point of an interview.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and that helps because it takes some of the pressure off in the sense that you know that the person is going to talk, which is important.
Yeah. And I tell you, it's the last thing you want to do on a one-on-one interview anyway is say or do something that offends the other person. I mean, what if you said to me in the middle of this interview, and I'm just using this as an example because obviously you did it. What if you said to me, I think gay marriage stink? And I'm like, well, some of my friends are gay, some of my, I don't think, and then already you got the person on the defensive instead of, on the same team. So again, it doesn't come down to, the interviewer putting himself or herself over it. It's still about the subject, because that's the last thing you want to do is offend somebody.
That would be awkward.
Yeah. I mean, I'll have guests come on every possible, background, and and sometimes they'll say some stupid shit, and I might politely say the other side of the story, but I'm never going to try to humiliate them or make them look like an idiot, because that's not the point of why they're on. They're on promoting something. They're on, why are they on your show if they're halfway famous or very famous? Because they're promoting something. So if somebody says something that you totally disagree with, you could kind of fluff it off, or you could, politely give the other point of view, but you're not there as a political debate. That's not the radio.
Right.
That I do an entertainment show. If it was a political show, it would be a different thing. You could really go after each other, but that's not what you're doing. So it would be very awkward and uncomfortable and even hostile. So
yeah, you don't want to do that. Somebody told me yesterday. I was talking with Mike Geffner. He runs the Inspired Word. He's a journalist. Used to do like a lot of sports and stuff. And we were driving back because we were at the show and we all kind of came back together. and he told me that exact same thing. He said, Angel, you never take sides as a journalist. You know, if you're interviewing someone or you're talking to someone, you don't lead them. You don't take sides. You are an objective listener, and then you write. And then
you want to know something? You want to know something? I say this all the time. You know, some of my heroes in life have done some pretty shitty things. You know, like James Brown. I've been arrested for domestic dispute. You know, Bruce Lee died in his mistress's house. You know, Michael Jackson, you know the whole story, you know, the allegations against him, you know, et cetera, so on. And you almost have to detach yourself and say, let's separate the talent from the personal life, because otherwise you wouldn't like anybody. You know, it's like, you know, I mean, that's basically, you know, and I've known plenty of celebrities, and they're people. This is what people don't grasp. They're people. You go, okay, he's a nice guy, but he's really cheap. Okay, he's a nice guy, but he's kind of, you know, his politics don't agree with mine. He's a nice guy, but, you know, he's got a bad temper. You know, except he's a nice guy, but he, you know, constantly fucks around on his wife, which isn't nice. Or, you know what I'm saying? But it's you know, people are people, and it's just a long-winded way of saying you almost have to detach yourself from, you know, what they do. You know, why they're famous, why they're great, why they're an artist, because you might not agree with a lot of what they do or some of what they do, and what's the difference? You know, it's the way I see it anyway.
I noticed a lot of that with one of the more recent ones was Chris Brown. You know, the whole thing with him.
Yeah, Chris Brown has done some disgusting things. But if you like his music, I'm not a big fan. But if you like his music, you could say, okay, he's a really good singer and he's a really good dancer. That has nothing to do with him punching Rihanna in the face. I think everybody will agree that punching Rihanna in the face is the wrong thing to do. You know, but you can say, hey, the guy's a good singer, he's a good dancer, and you know, it's like up to you whether or not you're going to still support him or not. And, you know.
Yeah. Michael Jackson.
I mean, one of my cinematic heroes was always Clint Eastwood. Then I'm watching him in this Republican convention. I want to like bang my head against the wall. You know, it's like, God, how awful, how awful. Look what this guy's doing. He's up there, you know, fighting for Mitt Romney, this corporate raider. You know, this guy who devoted his life to greed, who like laid off all these people. You know, he's up there making a, you know, he's up there like making a mockery of himself and defending this guy who's repulsive to me. And it's like, but he made great movies. He still made great movies. You have to detach yourself from it. You know, he made great movies as an actor. He made great movies as a director. You know, I don't like his politics, but you know, what can you do? What can you do?
Yeah, that's how it is. I mean, Mel Gibson's another example of.
Yeah, Mel Gibson is a racist. You know, from everything we've seen, the guy's a racist. He's anti-Semitic, whatever. But from what we've seen, anyway, what's been alleged, and you know, but the guy's made some great movies. You know, you can't take the movies away from him. I think he hurt his own career with all of that. I mean, you don't see him much anymore. I think, you know,
he screwed himself up. You know,
I mean, he made a fortune of money with that Passion of Christ. Anyway, I don't think he needs to work, but you know, but you can't take away the quality films and the quality performances that the guy did. I mean, you know, Mad Max, The Road Warrior, and some of the other stuff. I mean,
We Were Soldiers was one of the best films. We Were Soldiers was really powerful, that movie.
Oh, yeah, the guy said that's what it was. So that's my point exactly. I'm Jewish. I still watch a Mel Gibson film. You know, like, do I agree with some of the stuff I've seen? Of course not. But my hating Mel Gibson and not watching his movies isn't going to change anything. You know, I can see boycotting a corporation if you don't like their product or whatever, but, these are performers. I mean, you see all the time, for example, the basketball player the other day said something homophobic, and you kind of go, he's a jock. Is he supposed to say something profound, or is he going to say something stupid? I mean, what's the big surprise? I mean, it's like, okay, he said something stupid, he apologized, and I think you're still going to watch his team. I think you're still going to watch the NBA. I don't know if this all makes sense, but...
No, totally, it does. It's like you said, he's a jock. He is good at playing basketball. It doesn't mean he's good at social, indiscretions and,
Yeah, he shoots the ball through the hoop. That doesn't mean he has to be a genius, he's not a diplomat for the UN. If he was a diplomat for the UN, he'd throw his hands out. But this guy's shooting a ball through a hoop. His politics don't have to be the same as yours. And if he says something stupid, he was embarrassed publicly. He was fine, whatever happened, he opened his mouth. It's on him.
It's like Allen Iverson. Isn't he? Iverson broke now, and he was one of the best. He was a big basketball player, but he's not very good at finances. He doesn't have any money.
Well, we hear that all the time. I mean, that's nothing new. I mean, you got these guys, they get like a 3-year contract and they get hurt or something, and meanwhile they got a $10 million mansion and the 3 cars and the jewelry and the clothes, and nobody taught these guys financial planning. They taught them how to throw a ball. So this is not unusual. I've never made a fortune of money in my life, and I've always managed to pay the bills. So maybe somebody should teach these guys how to manage their money because they make enough of it.
That's what I said. I can't feel bad for him because, I do grunt work and I've managed to survive. So how can this guy not be able to get a cheeseburger? That was the headline. It said Allen Iverson can't even buy a cheeseburger. I'm like, dude, I can buy a cheeseburger.
I was making $34,000 a year as a school teacher, and somehow I always paid my bills. I wasn't making $3.4 million. I was making $34,000. So maybe I was doing something smarter than this guy. I can't feel sorry for him. I mean,
same here. I can't feel bad for him. I can get a freaking burger. How can you not get a burger?
There's an expression, you can buy too much house. Some of these guys buy too much house, too much car, too much everything. And, it's not what you make, it's what you keep.
Yeah.
Some guy's making $100,000, he's spending $150,000, and the guy making $30,000 who saved $3,000, that guy's doing better. It's as simple as that. It's math. Not what you make, it's what you keep.
I remember when that whole Romney thing was going on. That whole chair thing is actually pretty funny. The whole chair thing was interesting.
It was embarrassing. It was absolutely embarrassing. And, shilling for a guy like Romney who, just represents everything. I'm the exact opposite. I've never done anything just for money. I taught because I love teaching. I made movies because I love making movies. I did radio because I love doing radio. Never got rich from any of it. So, when a guy devotes his life to just making money and more money and more money and more money, this is probably the wrong guy running for president in this day and age after, the bank and, Wall Street, scandals the past few years. Probably the worst guy they could have possibly picked. That's on them.
at some point we get someone who's a little more middle ground that can, make everybody happy. And, I would love to be able to run, but I've said a lot of things on Facebook and Twitter that would be heavily used against me.
Yeah. Well,
But it is what it is.
But if you say something strong enough, that's when people pay attention to you. So you got to find like that happy medium.
Right.
If you just write the same stuff that everybody else is writing, then it's like a needle in the haystack.
Because they would say, Mr. Rodriguez, did you say such and such? Yes, I did. I think with things like that, the best thing is just to own it. I think the mistake that people make is they get embarrassed, they try to hide it, and that makes it worse. Like Wiener, when he got caught with his Twitter thing, his biggest mistake was lying about it. Now, granted, it was wrong, he did it, but his biggest mistake was trying to hide it and lie about it. If you're caught and you sent the damn peen picture, just own it. Yes, I did. Why'd you do it? I'm an idiot. You would have probably had a better chance of recovering had he taken that approach. You know what?
Yeah, because then you become another lying politician.
Yeah, you're just a human.
And I liked his politics. I was sorry he screwed his career up because he was very outspoken, and I agreed on a lot of what he said. But it's like Clinton. Clinton spent half his presidency fighting charges. It's like keep it in your pants, keep out of trouble, or keep it discreet. Whatever.
Yeah, it's crazy. Those guys are power. They make mistakes. It's like when I was in the Air Force, somebody tried to set me up with something along those lines. I was a student leader and I was like in a position of power, and I was very friendly with the ladies. I was kind of like a flirt or whatever. Someone reported it to some sergeant, and they took me in and they asked me, Angel, were you flirting with such and such girls? And I said, have you seen her? And they said, yes. I was like, well, what do you think? He said, you were? I was like, yes, sir, I was. Can you blame me? Like, I just owned it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they said, you probably want to cut that out because, people are reporting it and we don't want to see you get in trouble. But had I denied it, I would have probably gotten in trouble because now I'm insulting, you're insulting their intelligence. So I said, dude, have you, with all due respect, Sergeant, have you ever looked at her? Well, I have. I'm like, well, if she was flirting with me, you think I'm not going to go with it? And, he just like, okay, well, just, be careful because it's been reported that, people are seeing things and given your position, you probably don't want to do that. So it's all how you approached it. If I were Wiener, I would have said, yep, I did it. Sorry. I screwed up. I just screwed up. What can I say? I appreciate, you taking out time to talk.
Yeah, send me your music. I'd like to check it out.
Yeah, cool. We'll be in contact. I enjoyed the conversation.
Oh, thanks. Same here. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Cool.
Okay, thank you. Okay, nice talking to you.
All right. We'll be in touch.
Bye-bye. Absolutely. All right, bye-bye.
You are listening to the NYC Talking podcast. www.nyctalking.com. Please like NYC Talking on Facebook. Please follow Angel R Talk on Twitter and Instagram. We are NYC Talking, the realest lifestyle blog ever. Thanks for listening.